Hello everyone. As is typical at the start of all of my videos now, I'm back. Had a third edition event last weekend? The weekend before, I think. Yeah, that sounds right. Which is my third event. But I mean, realistically, all of them were more game days than actual tournaments. But I took enough pictures of this one, so figured it might be time to do another video because I've got some time and why not, right? Particularly because other people are doing lots to promote the scene in Australia and I'm not, so maybe this will be a small contribution rather than just being a parasite who just turns up to all of Chris's work and has fun. It's probably too harsh a criticism of myself or anyone else in that situation, but I feel like if people like this, then great. I'll do it and feel like I'm contributing in some way. So I brought a new list. Basically a new army. Like I've had warriors before, which I presumably have put up on the channel. But I got a little bit tired of those. I didn't really like how the models ended up in the end. They were fun at first, and then I didn't really want to keep playing them, particularly because with the Seven Sins theme, I sort of hamstrung myself into, if I don't play all Seven Sins, then it just looks like a weird mix of random models. So I was quite restricted in the list building I could do. So basically, I did a whole new Warriors of the Dark Gods army, mostly 3D printed. Really liked how it turned out. And this is my list here. Basically, the theory that the idea behind it was, to start off with, I had a cool dragon model that had sort of just been sitting unpainted for about 8 years, and I wanted to paint him. So I painted him and then thought, well, I mean, I can paint a few other things to sort of go along with it. It wasn't really even starting an army at first. It was more sort of... I did have like an army list idea in mind, but I wasn't really committed to doing a whole new army so much as just hobbying up some models that I liked. But in the end, it turned out to be... There was enough passion there basically for me to make a whole new army. And the whole thing is essentially just dragon themed. And ironically, by the end of it, my dragon model looks small and unimpressive enough that I'm printing a whole new big dragon to replace him so that he is suitably the 900 point lord that dwarfs all the other models in the list. And yeah, so the list was certainly not trying to build the strongest thing or anything. It was basically just, there were two factors. One, it was models that I like with a bit of a tendency to things that I wasn't running when I ran my Seven Sins list so much. Like I never ran the dragon, I never ran Feldrax, so it's just interesting new units to try. And also, supposedly in third edition, single models are bad, which I was suspicious that it was likely overblown, the sort of how bad they are. Particularly in the current edition, where I think they've gotten a couple of buffs throughout the iterations. They seem to me, as someone who's not that experienced, to be more or less fine. But after my dwarves, like there were sort of like MSU blocks, turned out to be really, really strong in third edition, I wanted a list again that was a bit weaker. So I was like, well, if everyone's saying these are bad, let's try and take some of the bad things. So the Chosen Lord on Dragon I think is actually good, and I built this character before, I mean relatively early on in third edition, and certainly before I saw it like explode. But if you look at Warriors of the Dark God lists, there are sort of two things to me that seem to stand out currently, which is that everybody takes Forsworn, and a lot of people are taking a dragon with a very similar build to this. So they normally go Touch of Greatness rather than Symbol of Slaughter. They normally go Dark Prelate, and I think it's normally Lust rather than Gluttony, because Lust gives you Strider, and it's Gluttony and Lust are free, I think. But It might not always be lost. I'm just sort of trying to remember. But the main differences I can remember is mainly it's Banner of Speed on the trophy rack, Touch of Greatness, and then rather than Idol of Spite, it's Dark Prelate. My theory behind it was basically, I mean, the Aether Icon's just there because I had 10 points. But my theory is mainly going with Gluttony means that I imagine my Chosen Lord is going to get in a few combats in the game most of the time. Sometimes he might be like blocked by something, or there's just sort of a weak unit that he can take out. He doesn't really get chaffed, I guess, because he can fly, but there's often times where there's sort of like an exposed weak unit that he might go after. Gluttony's just a +1 strength buff after that. It also sort of, in my mind, fits the dragon theme, like Gluttony, Greed seem to be quite dragony to me. I guess so would Pride. And Symbol of Slaughter is basically, essentially, because I was thinking when I built this, keep in mind that I had, like, this didn't change from when I think, hadn't played, maybe more than 3 third edition games at all. I was like, if people are taking lots of blocks, high quality attacks with, like, Touch of Greatness, maybe not as important as more attacks. And I actually I think the higher agi is quite important because it gets him up to agility 9, I think. Which means that he goes before a lot of, like, even other combat characters or whatever. And given that you've got Idol of Spite for the +1 strength and AP when you need it, you've got Gluttony to probably be strength 6 when you get to, like, sort of that crucial combat. And Idol of Spite is a bit of a hedge against that. So it's like, well, if you need AP3, you've got Idol of Spite. And if you haven't got Gluttony up yet, you can get your strength 6. So that's sort of my theory. I don't necessarily know if it's better than the current, like, the meta build. The rest of their lists are different, so I imagine the synergies are a bit different. But to me, I like this one more, at least for the way that I sort of want him to be an absolute beat stick. So I don't really want to take Dark Prelate because I just want the dragon to be as killy as possible. Anyway, that's his whole thing, basically. I actually think he's good. The rest of the list, I think, is just fine. The Chosen Lord and Skywheel is honestly a bit crap. He's 450 points. He's got a 3-up armor save, so he's not protected enough for that amount of points in a single model. But he was mainly there just for modeling reasons. And it didn't end up mattering, both because of a lack of tooled out characters and him and the dragon were usually doing different things. But I had thought in my head that, hey, there might be times when there's a lord that I can't take, like, I don't know, some kitted out dwarf lord or something. If I send in both of them, if I send in the Chosen Lord and the dragon and the Skywheel, well, the Skywheel will turn off all those items and all of a sudden my dragon can't be beaten by anyone. That was sort of the general theory, but it never really was needed and they weren't hanging out together anyway. I think, to be honest, if the Skywheel sort of hung out as brazenly as the dragon did, without sort of like terrain and stuff, he'd probably die much more easily, so we wouldn't get to do the combo charge anyway. My core was just 2 Bricks of Warriors. Gluttony and Greed, because a little bit of difference is good. I think the Greed guys are actually much better than the Gluttony guys. I really like Weapon Master and like the options that having Greed on Warriors, particularly on Infantry, gives you. So, but variation is nice. And Flaming Standard because, like, dragons. Same reason why I gave this guy Dragon's Brew. Just lots of fire seems to fit the theme. 2 Feldraks, one with Paired, one with Halberd. 6 Chosen with a Wasteland Torch. Again, just fire and Greed, because I think Greed's good. A Chimera, just I had 1 more point for big things, so chucked in a Chimera. And 5 Warhounds just for a bit of chaff, basically. I'll jump over to my new army, because I'm quite proud of it, actually. I did these nice paper banners from a tutorial by Dan, which I thought panned out. There's some improvement that could certainly come there, but I thought they panned out really well, especially for a first try. This Feldrak Elder over here is my favourite. Big Axe Man. And this guy here, by the way, is just a unit filler. But I managed to find... So, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the Rider here are all Loot Studios files. And these 2 units of infantry are Wargames Atlantic. They've got these sick dragon infantry models. When I print, I struggle a little bit sometimes with thin things. A lot of their swords, like this guy, you can see his sword sort of... You might not be able to see it, depending on how big your screen is, I guess. But his sword sort of curves behind his head. Yeah, you can't really see it with this picture on these guys. But so up close, some of them look a bit weird because they got pretty wonky swords. But at this distance, it's basically fine. And these chosen are basically all just a mix of like D&D Dragonborn or Kobold models that I thought looked cool. So, and I was struggling a little bit with the idea for chosen, because obviously you got dragonish infantry as a concept, but I don't want them to look the same as my warriors. So I was sort of like, well, I don't think I'm not really going to find another like dragon infantry sculpt, and then realize like chosen are sort of just like mini heroes on their own. So if I can get some D&D minis, it probably works, and I think they worked out pretty well. Behind them, my warhounds are just like raptors. I think they were Raven twin miniatures. But yeah, so like they're like Saurian raptors, but warhounds for me. Where are we? Can I do this? Yes, I can. So my first game, I'll go back to the lists. Oh, that's not right. This one was against some Vermin Swarm. Look, you can read it. Basically, he had a Bell, he had a Doomblade guy, he had an Assassin, he had big block of Legionaries, Veterans, and Slaves, big block of Brutes, a Doomspark, the Mouse Rifle, 2 units of 3 of the weapon teams, some of the ambushing, throwing weapon guys, and then 2 of the random moving arena beasts. Honestly, I don't know enough about Vermin. I don't like playing Vermin Swarm generally. I just think I preferred the old version. Didn't really like the pre-LAB version. I didn't really like it that much, but I preferred it. And the new book is just, to me, so silly. Like everything's an exception to the way everything normally works. So I just sort of don't care about it. I don't want to know what it does. I'm not interested. My general thinking was basically I can't believe it's not a cannon, probably good against my big thing, so I want to get rid of that early. I assume the Doom Wheel is good. I know that Brutes are hard to shift because they're Res 5 and lots of wounds. And the Doomblade guy, I was like, probably not that big of a deal because I think that I've got, like, either I turn off his sword or my dragon is just going to kill, like, my rider's going to kill him before he strikes, so I wasn't really concerned about him so much. That was my general thinking. But we'll see, I guess, my deployment, and maybe I can explain there. So this is actually, I think, after my first turn. I think I dropped everything for first just to sort of speed things up because I didn't really want to think about it. But pretty much the way... So he's got... I've got an Elder here, an Elder there. That's the Gluttony block, that's the Greed block, Dragon straight down the middle. Entropic Aura guy just sort of like flitting around, seeing where he might be useful. I'm worried a bit about him getting shot out, so I'm being a bit conservative with him. Chosen are pushed up, Warhounds are pushed up, and then this flank is sort of... I'm just really trying to keep the Rat Ogres busy. They're only, I think, strength 4, so probably my dragon can manage that. It might take him a while. I mean, they're out of bubble, which turns out actually is really important because I think they're really low leadership out of bubble. Maybe they weren't out of bubble now, but eventually they were. I don't know. There was no BSB at least, so, sketchy in some ways. But basically looking at the board here, he had, Bell here, Doomblade, and, what are they called? They're not Storm Vermin. Black Furs, maybe? Blood Furs? One of those two. They're slaves over here, or over here, I think. And then the 2 random movers over here. Essentially, the 2 flanks were what were giving me stress. I thought I could pretty much run through these blocks without too much trouble, particularly because I don't think they pose a great threat to my monsters. The Storm Vermin were a little bit of a test because I know he could drop his Assassin down. And basically, if he drops his Assassin down and I've charged in, I've got Charge, 1 rank. I've got Glory Hunter, and actually so did he, so he would have to accept my challenge. So I would have Charge, 1 rank, 2 wounds. Against his 4 ranks and a banner. So I'm down by 1. And then my Thunder Stomp does still go on the unit. So, like with Glory Hunter in the challenge, basically no one can attack me except his character. I can only attack his character. I would kill the character before it got to strike, so I'm not taking any wounds myself. But my Stomp still goes on the unit. And then, because he ignores, I think, the first 4 casualties to like Life is Cheap models, I'd need to kill 5 with my Stomp, just to draw. So I was like, well, I'm going to lose by 1 probably if I go in there. As soon as I've done it, it's actually kind of okay because I've killed the Assassin. One, I killed the Assassin, which gets my trophy rack up by 1, so I'm effectively 2 ranks. The other character, if he accepts my challenge, has 3 wounds. So all of a sudden, I've got my 2 static, 3 wounds. I'm already at 4 ranks, equaling 4 ranks in a banner, and then if my Stomp happens to do anything, I could win the combat, but otherwise I'm not going to lose at least. But I couldn't go in as my first thing there because it would mean that I lost by 1. And I mean, Leadership 8 rerollable is not too bad, but it's not something I necessarily wanted to risk if I didn't have to. But yeah, these Rat Ogres I just wanted to sort of keep tied up doing other things. I didn't actually think that my Chimera or my Greed Warriors were really going to do anything against them. But I wanted to keep them occupied over here. I didn't really know what to think about the random movers. They seem really good to me, but Feldrak Elders are pretty good too, so I was just like, well, I mean, we'll see what happens. And I do have Flaming Standards on my blocks, which makes it easier to sort of mitigate them, I guess. So yeah, this is basically just a continuation of all that. I think I'm out of his max charge ranges, maybe. Maybe I'm tempting him into a long one on my dragon here. Yeah, just used him as chaff. I went over and I fought his Hellpit Abomination, or his Underworld Beast, with my Feldrak Elder. I rolled pretty badly on the first turn from memory. But I didn't break him anyway. I think, because he's strength 7, I think is sort of the difference. He's got a couple more attacks on average. So I think actually, in the end, that's probably a losing battle, but whatever. I charged some dogs and my Halberd Feldrak Elder into the slaves for 2 reasons. One is basically if my Feldrak Elder ends in that position, he couldn't get his other random mover into my flank, whereas I think if I went straight down the middle, like where I would have to be maximizing, he may well have been able to get there. And I figure the dogs will go do some damage and die, and then it won't be a problem because, like, on the turn they charge, they'll strike at agility and they'll do some wounds too, so it'll probably be much of a muchness, and then they'll be dead, so it probably won't matter. But I kind of underestimated the Life is Cheap, and they did stay alive, so yeah, I think there's 3 left. Essentially what happens next, my Chosen have eaten up the Doomspark device. And they're going to go do fun things later, I think. Essentially this Halberd Elder is actually going to lose to the slaves but not be run down. Which is sort of what has happened here. Okay, so basically from this position, I can't remember what did James fight or charge here? Oh, okay, so this Whispering Bell unit charged my Chosen, beat him up, and then either tried to overrun or whatever happened. It was a flank for my dragon, so my dragon went in, killed the bell, because he accepted the Glory Hunter challenge. The slaves broke the Elder but didn't run him down, and then I've sort of rallied, basically. My Greed Warriors over here are getting beaten up, and the Storm Vermin are a little bit annoyed, like a little bit stuffed up by the the water and not wanting to take DTs. And not really threatening anyone at this stage, I think. Feldreich Elder over here has died. I think... Where does it... So, I think on my next turn or something... At some point, these Skaven... These slaves failed their terror test. And I think we did a couple of things wrong. One, I'm not actually sure if that makes them flee anymore. I assume it probably does, because otherwise you just get charged and deleted if you're shaken, right? So I assume that's probably right. But they actually probably would be dead rather than fleeing, because I think they're under 25% from fighting something. I don't know, maybe the Elder. Anyway, they don't and they live, but this Underworld Beast didn't get into whatever he was charging, which gave a flank to my warriors, who could then chew him up because they had a flaming banner. They were in the flank and all that, and then that was able to get them helping out the Chosen over here, who would charge the other Help It. I think actually they were charged, but they had held, because they sort of held their own in the fight. My dragon ends up chewing up all of the legionaries, and then eventually because now he's got, after that, he's basically Resolute 2, so he's got 3 ranks, so now he's not concerned about charging the Storm Vermin. He turned like that to the Storm, because the Storm Vermin couldn't see him. They were sort of out of range of everything. This is probably my last picture, I imagine. And then in the end, I sent the Chosen and the Dragon in. I probably actually didn't need the Chosen. I don't think it actually helped. And basically the end of that is that the Dragon chews those guys up and doesn't have too much of a concern. That's my next game. And yeah, these Rat Ogres are basically just... they couldn't get in, because I think I got them in my front here, so they couldn't charge me. And then after these guys broke, they were like Leadership 5 or something, so I think... I don't know, whatever happened, I think they ran away from something, and then either they got run down or they didn't. I got half points or whatever it was. I can't remember, but I think I got them. I think I got at least half points for them. So then at the end of this game, I think it was like a 14, I want to say. I don't know if I want to check here. Can I go? Let me take this on another screen so I'm not giving spoilers. Round 1. Aha, there we go. Okay. Yeah, 14-6. What was the secondary? Oh, it says there, Spoils of War. Which one's Spoils of War? Oh, I think like neither of us killed a scoring unit or something with another scoring unit. Or if he did, I guess he dropped... Yeah, because I think... Oh, no, he didn't kill my Chosen, so I don't think he ever got one. Yeah, I don't think either of our scoring units ever got into another scoring unit, so basically we both ended on 0 for that. There might be another scoring thing in there, but whatever it was, I think we just drew that. And then it was 14-6 on points. Maybe... I don't know what happened with the secondary objectives, but whatever. Okay. My next game was against Matt, who ironically was the only person that... He's the only person that I've played a non-tournament 3rd edition game against, and that was in the lead up to this event. We were both using basically our same lists. He has taken a dragon, but it's pretty budget. He's taking Sylvan Elves. He's got a Shamanism Master on an Eagle. He's got a BSB Blade Dancer. He's got a couple of units of archers. He's got some Heath Riders. Some Dryads who aren't scoring, so they don't have a banner. A Tree Father, who we found out after our game is actually Res 7 now. So we knew that for this game at least. 4 Kestrel Knights with, I think this is like soft cover banner or something, which doesn't matter against me because I don't have shooting. I don't have magic either, but I don't have shooting. Some of these guys who apparently aren't poison anymore, they're always wounded on 4-up, which is pretty good. And we need a 15 Blade Dancers who from our test game I really learnt to respect. So, pitches. Where do we start? Alright, so this must be after my turn 1. We were playing... breakthrough, I believe. I think. Let me scoot this one off again and see. Yes, we were playing breakthrough and diagonal. And so essentially, I think we went drop for drop for a while. And then whatever happened, I'd seen enough that I was happy dropping the rest of my army, or I saw that I couldn't really out-deploy him without dropping valuable things, so I just ended up dropping for first. If that's how it works, I don't know. That up here is the unit of Kestrels, basically trying to avoid things. I'm figuring I don't really care about them flank charging me. Or maybe I do. I think I was just like, I have to sort of accept that if you do flank charge one of these guys, if anything good happens, I'm going to clean... Like, if I lose one of them because you flanked me, I'm going to clean you up with the warriors coming here on the counter charge. The unit of... I can't believe it's not poison archers actually deployed, scouted in here. Apparently you can't do that anymore. Apparently you can't scout it in the opponent's deployment zone. But we didn't know that at the time. And frankly, I actually think it was a mistake to put them there anyway, because I just flew my Disc Chosen Lord, who I don't think is all that helpful in this matchup. I just flew him over there, did the breath weapon, and I killed like 5 of them, I think, with the breath weapon. I also could have done sweeping attacks, but I didn't know that the Disc had sweeping attacks at this stage, so I probably would have killed all of them if I had done that. So I should actually, we've had this, because we've had this game before, I'm a little bit more informed about sort of matchup wise. I still think that the Tree Man is pretty deal withable because his output isn't that great against non-infantry units, and against my infantry units, all of them are going to have flaming against him. So I guess these guys over here, who are the shield guys, probably don't want to face him because they're not high enough strength. So even with rerolling the wound, I don't think it is that great. But for either of the greed blocks, I'm not really concerned. Well, I mean, obviously my Chimera, my Entropic Aura Chosen Lord, don't want to fight him. But the Feldrax, I'm pretty happy with fighting him. Because I think I've got more attacks, I hit better. Which sort of makes up for the fact that he's got the better res. Like, I think he's strength 6 as well. So I'd be winning him on 5s, he'd be winning me on 4s, but with the other bonuses, I think they're okay. The Blade Dancers, I know, are a problem. I can't remember what they did last time. I think they went through Chosen and maybe a block of infantry last time. I know that they're tough to deal with. His Dragon's okay, but I know that mine smacks his around. And I'm pretty sure I can relatively... Like, I mean, obviously spikes happen, but I can relatively easily absorb the fire from his blocks with anything that I care about. Like, if he shoots 24 shots at my dragon, that's 20 hits. Then it's still only like 3 wounds, and even those I save half of them. So I'm not giving him enough time, like by staying back or anything. And he doesn't have long enough range counter charge threats that my dragon cares about, that I have to sort of like stay back and let him get multiple rounds of shooting. So it's like you're going to get 1, maybe 2, and then I've got sort of everything in your face. And if you're only shot at the dragon, he's maybe down to 4 wounds, but that means everything else is pretty much sweet because you don't have much more range damage. Oh, this, by the way, this is Wasteland Torch that I burnt his forest in the middle. What basically goes on in this game, I'm not over here, is pretty much just... Oh, this is a long way away. Okay, so he sort of shuffles backwards, basically. I think these guys tried to fight the warriors, which we both agreed after the game. Yeah, that was a mistake. It's just throwing away those guys, because there's no way they're going to beat 15 gluttony warriors. He sort of swings these dryads around into a position where basically if I charge them with the dragon, counter charges are coming in. But otherwise, he's reasonably conservative. He maybe chaffed something over here with his eagle. Maybe that's a turn later. The Kestrels are going to come around and sort of like stare these guys in the back, and these guys are pretty much just going to go, we're going to, adjust position or whatever that movement is, where they move 2 inches further towards Matt's board edge for breakthrough, but keep the Kestrels in their front, because I think the Kestrels in my front of the block wins. And if those two are dancing all game, I don't care. Like, I'll get into his deployment for the primary objective, and I'll always keep him in my front, so I don't really care about that. And what basically I decide to do is I charge the Dryads that, as I said, are set up. Oh, he must have fled. Not from the Dragon. The Dragon wouldn't have charged there. I guess these guys charge the Archers. Maybe the Chimera charged the Archers, and they fled because they didn't want... I don't think that they beat a Chimera, so maybe that makes sense. And maybe these Warriors... Maybe they were closer than I thought. And regardless, basically he fled, and then he's got his counter charges set up though. I sent the Dragon in anyway, and this was basically the thing, like a very calculated, risky kind of play in this game, where I went, okay, I think that if I send the Dragon in and I get charged by the Dragon and the Blade Dancers, I'm pretty sure that I lose my Dragon. Because even if I do good things with my Dragon, like in terms of damage to things, he's got Divine Attack, so 3+ Ward Save Dance doesn't help him. Pretty sure with those two coming into him, particularly with the fact that he's got magic buffs, which is basically either going to be +1 strength or the grind attacks from Shamanism. I'm pretty sure I lose the Dragon. However, it's allowed me to basically bring these two Feldraks over to threaten. I still technically have this guy's chaff if I need it, although these guys with the character in them can fly. And wherever he ends up sort of over here, I'm likely to have counter-charging threats in the form of like this block, or if he overruns, Feldraks might, the Elders might theoretically be able to be blocked by the T9A Ancient, who I think actually goes and fights the Chosen instead. But basically what my theory is here is if I lose the Dragon, I think I've got enough counter charges to take his Dragon and his Blade Dancers, which in the end is a good trade for me. And once I take those two things off the board, nothing is threatening my Feldrak Elders. So if that trade happens, I'm up on points and essentially just have a dominant position. So even though this is quite a risky play for the Dragon in terms of his survivability, in terms of the game, I thought it's a fair risk to take. And if he doesn't charge the Dragon is, again, just in a dominant position where he's like, he'll lose his 2 Archer blocks for sure, basically, when the Dragon gets to turn it. It gets to his next charge phase if it's my turn and he's alive. Which is basically how it went down. So I can't remember the exact details, but T9A Ancient maybe failed his charge at the Chosen and I charged him by the looks of it because I'm further forward. Maybe that's my overrun, don't really remember. But his Dragon and his Blade Dancers took off my my Dragon, and I set up... I can't remember exactly why his Blade Dancers were there. Maybe because he broke me and he had to run me down. That was probably how I was facing. I think maybe that's it. And then basically it meant that I got my Halberd Feldrak into his Dragon, which to me is just basically a winning charge for the Feldrak because I've got Hatred against him and I've got Strength 7. So it's basically Dragon on Dragon. He does have a little elf on top that can turn it a little bit, but he's only got like 4 attacks. So with Hatred and the fact that I'm winning him on 3s with my actual attacks, I think that the Feldrak is likely to win that matchup regardless. And then I got my other Feldrak, the paired weapons one, into the flank of his Blade Dancers. So pretty much, as I said, what I was hoping for is what happens, where I lost the Dragon, but then I cleaned up his 2 most important units. And even though the Archers over here had rallied as soon as I kill these guys, there's nothing left they can do, basically. As you can see, yeah, warriors are just staring down with the Kestrels again. And I think my Chosen even beat the Treeman Elder over there, because I took great weapons, so it's like great weapons, wounding on fires, but re-rolling. And he maybe took a couple of wounds from the ruins, charging through them anyway. Oh, just a slight zoom. Hey, how about that? And yeah, this is basically sort of the end situation where you've got the entire relevant parts of my army facing down against his. And I think that's... No, okay. I think they fled off the board. Oh, okay, yes. The last thing that happened here is these guys have flown over to try and do something relevant. He fled off the board so that I couldn't... I don't know, so that I was still chargeable by him. So basically all I did with my Elder was sort of turn him around and make it so that these guys couldn't get 3 in contact against the rear of my Halberd Feldrak Elder, who had done the charging. Which I think is still how it works. I doubt that as part of charging he'd do like the unaligned charge just to be able to maximize. I assume that not maximizing takes precedence over getting all 3 in contact. I don't know. I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, feel free to tell me. What I found interesting as well is that I realized after my test game with Matt that single models movement, or like if they're not light troops, has obviously been curtailed a bit, because you can't just like march straight up the board, turn like 180 degrees or whatever, more like probably 100 degrees, and just sort of like be facing in at strange angles at your opponent. But they're still pretty mobile, because effectively, if the front of the base is 50 wide like these guys, it's effectively 2 inches to turn 90 degrees. So you can go 4 inches to go a 180. You can still move 8 inches back, and then you can do 4 inches to turn another 180. Which obviously limits your ability to like dance out of line of sight and stuff. But it's not hard to sort of get them around. You can't use them quite as like brazenly aggressively hiding in pockets where enemies can't see you as you used to be able to. But they're still certainly much more maneuverable than blocks. Which are, well, I mean, maybe not some cavalry blocks, I guess, but cavalry blocks are wider, so all of their... I guess, probably not noticeably more than, say, a Kingdom of Aquitaine Lance formation unit, where, if they're 75, I guess, what does that take them? About 3 inches to do 90 degrees? 36. Which is actually significant, because then you go 3-6, you can only move 4 and do your other 6. So I guess it is significant. The wider you get, the less you can sort of do that dancing shenanigans. But with a 50 by 100, particularly when you're you can march 16 inches, you're pretty sweet. Yeah, this game, to be honest, sort of went the way that I expected it to. Like, I'm sure that we could pinpoint dumb things that both of us have done where, like, the game could be played better, but I do think it's difficult for Matt's army to deal with essentially the 3 monsters as the most difficult things. And, he's got his entire core basically invested into these 2 archer blocks who aren't that relevant against high armor, toughness 4 or higher everywhere. Like, pretty much everything in the army that matters has a 3-up armor save. Yeah, even this guy's a 3-up armor save. It's like, just, other than the Warhounds, I think everybody has a 3-up armor save. So, it's pretty hard for him to get through, I think. An end result there was an 18-2 to me, because I got breakthrough, and I think I must have gotten secondary as well. Yeah, I think so. So, how are we doing? How long is this taking? I should be able to see that somewhere. 40 minutes. Let's race through the next 2 games. Let's just race through the next 2 games. Let's not make this a whole thing. Cool. So, my next game was against the Goblins. My eyes sort of glaze over when I see these characters. I'm just like, okay, he's got a bunch of Goblin characters. I don't know what they do. I don't have to care. Like, whatever. Bunch of goblin characters, bunch of artillery, and then some blocks. Whatever. Cool. That's what I'm looking at. My first impressions were pretty much that even like worse than the last game, these guys like really hard for Luke to do much against me. It's sort of like if his artillery goes off, then great. But I think I should be able to just like march down and really mess with all of his blocks because they're not that tough. That was a little bit incorrect, as I realized as soon as we got onto the table. So this is, I think, after my first turn. I might have used my hard target item on the dragon at this point. I can't remember. We're playing for these two objectives. I really like this one, by the way. Like, hold the center was, I think, my favorite objective from second edition. And I really like that basically you have to be in areas of the board, not just on turn 6, but like you have to sort of essentially be there as long as you can. So this is an objective that I really like. We both sort of committed much more to this one than to this one, because I've just got these guys and my entropic guy over here. But pretty much, so things that I overlooked in his list were, one, this, like, I can't believe it's not a Gargantula monster. He's got D6 impact hits, his strength 6. He's actually pretty good. And I think it's almost like if he gets the charge on one of my, well, really one of my anythings, except maybe the dragon, he's probably going to win the combat. He's probably not going to kill me in one, but he's kind of hard to kill. And with the impact hits, he should have enough of a wound advantage, basically, that even if we get into a grind, he probably wins the grind. And, like, sure, that's, like, one thing, which I didn't really think about, but I'm like, whatever, you can only threaten, like, a couple of things at a time, so it's fine. What was much more important to the matchup, I thought, was, obviously, I need to, like, bear down on him quite quickly. The artillery, in theory, over the course of a game, is going to do a lot of damage to my monsters. Like, he's got 6 multi-wounds things potentially coming at them. So, I want to get stuck in. I want to protect myself by being in combat. I want to maybe delete some of the war machines if I can. But the problem with that is, particularly on this right side. So, the left side, basically, my warriors are having trouble because they don't want to get charged by 2 wolf chariots. They can't outspeed them, though, and they can't really get into range of this objective without messing with them. So, that's one thing, and that's on that side of the board. But on the right-hand side of the board, these 3 chariots are a nightmare for any of my monsters. And they can just sort of dance around. I'm pretty sure they're still light troops. Threatening that counter. The sort of thing that Matt didn't have, where a long-range countercharge threat that scares my big things. I don't want to move a dragon there, because a dragon's going to take 3d6 strength 5 impact hits. That's, I mean, it's unlikely to kill him, but particularly if he combo charges with something else, like, it spells trouble for me. I'd love in this matchup to be able to sort of go, alright, I'm just going to sort of stick around out here, play for the objective, hope for the best. This one, I mean, this is the only scoring unit over here, so, like, I can sort of maybe keep these guys at bay. But these war machines are long enough range that I think that I'm going to be losing monsters, basically. Particularly this guy is sort of the threatened one. I got a hill helping me out here. He's the threatened one. And with, like, if he dies and I'm sort of focusing over this side of the hill, this guy can probably start moving up, threatening these guys. Eventually, I expect this scoring unit to be ferried over to here. So basically, something is going to come deal with these guys that they can't fight, which is sort of any of the, like, combination of these two or this guy one-on-one. And those guys just sort of need to follow in a clear path to get to that objective. I'm a little bit safer over here, but I mean, let's say, because obviously it's turned 3 to 6, so I think I've still got a little bit of a hold the center mindset to me where it's like, oh, sorry, not that old secure target mindset where it's sort of like turn 6 is all that matters. I guess there's a chance, because it'll take time to clear enough space for these guys to get to this, basically, with his threats. Getting rid of my counter charge, stare downs. So he might only score that, say, turn 5, maybe turn 5 and 6, maybe just turn 6. Whereas I obviously, if I'm keeping everything sort of as it is, can probably start holding this one from earlier. He could then come up and contest with his blocks later. I might have an advantage there where it's like, okay, primary objective, I think in this position, if we both play safe, I think I probably have the advantage. But that is sort of just resigning myself to go like, okay, well, probably Dragon, and by the end of the game, like, I'm going to lose a Dragon to my Feldrak Elder, which is 1,400 points just to shooting. And it's sort of trading 1,400 points for winning the primary. And then what else do I kill? Will I probably end up losing these guys as he moves over there? I don't think it's a winning play to try and do that. Also, I don't really, like, we weren't playing for sheep stations. We were sort of like, all right, well, let's get stuck in. But that's sort of what I'm thinking about here, where I'm like, okay, I need to get stuck in. These goblin chariots are such a problem. Because I've got to get, I'm slower than him. So I've got to get out there and be like, all right, I guess you can charge me. At some point here, I have to go, okay, I guess you can charge me. What I ended up doing... Oh, sorry, over here as well, my Entropic Aura guy is basically just sort of running down. There are the Goblin Cav, who he drops, maybe not headhunters into, whoever's the poison attack guys, he's just sort of throwing weaponing at me. My main job is trying to survive and kill enough of as many of these war machines as I can, but I don't really like his chances. One sec. Apologies, just had to fix a couple of things. I think I probably covered off what I was concerned about here. Basically, I had to take some kind of chance to try and win the game. Like, if I wanted to try and win the game rather than just sort of accept a close drawish game, which is a bit boring, I had to take a chance. What I ended up doing began the cavalcade of extraordinarily good luck. So, well, that's a bit of a spoiler for what's to come. Evidently I didn't take many pictures. So, the headhunters over on the left did like a couple of wounds with their poison. My Skywheel's got one left. All the war machines missed him, which meant that my Skywheel could come here, breathe off the war machine, and the next turn, that same amount of shooting directed at the Skywheel still does not kill him, even though he only had one wound, which meant that he could charge the war machine and overrun to the next one. So the Skywheel on his own cleared off those 3 war machines. My Dragon, I moved up here. I think we actually made a mistake here, although I'm not sure it was super relevant regardless. But Dragon basically moved up here, I think out of line of sight. This guy might have moved forward probably a bit. I think I could get him out of line of sight of them, keeping everything else in his front. Where my plan was, my Dragon's going to use his breath weapon on the chariots, hopefully kill one, hopefully they panic. Leadership 8 rerollable, so... But I just went, well, I mean, I've got to put him up at some point. Why not put him up now? See what happens. And essentially, he did 3 wounds, which is 25% of their health, which is a panic test, and they failed their panic test. And I think that means that they should stay there and be shaken, but we ran them off the board. So I think actually we made a mistake. I'm not sure when they're just staying there shaken and when they run off, but we ran them off the board. I don't know that it mattered super much. It might have stopped him getting some counter charges into me, but obviously he's not required to counter charge me anyway, so like if that was sort of the better play, he could have decided not to charge me. I think charging me was the better idea realistically. Yeah, so maybe they should have stayed there, but basically, even if they were just shaken, it's like, well, now my Dragon has breathing room. Because now they can't do anything. They can't give him the counter charge that he was so afraid of. All of the war machines missed. Like, so I was sitting out there, basically, exposed, all the war machines missed again. This is, I think, the same time where some of them missed the Skywheel, and the Skywheel, I think, saved the AP2 throwing weapons wounds from the other guys. So all the war machines still missed. These guys panicked off, and it meant that the dragon was in such a strong position. I think this is going to be a bit of a jump forward, but we'll just do it anyway, and I'll explain how we got there. I think the dragon just got charged by the goblin block, and he was hoping with his characters he could tie me up in Glory Hunter. And I think hope for a bad... I think the way that it worked out was like, if I roll a bad stomp, I'm going to lose. And if I lose, I might break, but otherwise he might hold me there. I rolled a 6 for stomp. I think I stomped everybody, but like they did 6 wounds. He didn't make his break test, and he ran off. This guy made a long charge into the Feldrak Elder, which will eventually basically mean that he kills the Feldrak Elder here. These guys otherwise just pushed through. My dragon, because I killed him on his turn, if I pivot I can't charge. The dragon basically ends up just cleaning up a war machine. I think the Chimera cleans up that war machine. I do fight his giant with my chosen. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Do we have another picture? I do, yes. I fight his giant with my chosen. His big goblins with my warriors. And yeah, cleaning up war machines. Dragon just racking up extra ranks. You can see the Skywheel over here doing his bit where he managed to survive the 2 rounds of shooting, so now he's chewing up some war machines. I think I beat up the dragon. I definitely lose against the goblins. So when there's only one bolt thrower left, I just turn around because I'm like, I don't really care about him anymore. The giant's running. These guys beat me up. And then I think in my opponent's turn, turned around. Sorry, one sec again. My internet just dropped out. It's sometimes a bit spotty in bad weather here. Which doesn't actually matter for this recording, but I tried to fix it and it looks like it might just fix itself. So I'm going to leave it. Anyway. Yeah, whatever happened, I think, like, I ran off the board or they chased me down or something. Well, however it is, he turned around like this, basically. The 2 chariots who charged my warriors over here rolled double 1s for their impact hits, and I ended up winning the combat. Just a whole bunch of astoundingly dumb stuff happening in this game, where like every dice roll that could possibly go well for me was going well for me. It wasn't really a very fair outcome, to be honest. Yeah, so I've just sort of turned around and facing these guys. I think they declare the war cry, so they get light troops and they dance maybe out of their line of sight or something, a bit further away, staying within for the objective. Skywheel guys somehow managing to stay alive. Just trying to run away from these poison shots. Eventually, basically, my dragon's going to go in here. I don't think he even needs help. He ends up just beating the crap out of them. And they run away. Because it seemed a little bit unsporting to just run my Skywheel, because I think I could send him over the hill, where then he'd be safe from these guys for a little bit. Seemed unsporting, so I just ran over and went, well, I'll grind attack you, which I now know exists. I think I learnt that like halfway through this game. They didn't panic. They then didn't kill him with the shooting, and then I think I charged him and he killed me. But pretty much, it was like these 3, like his chariot, his riders, and his behemoth left, and I had my dragon, my chosen, and my wyvern, which isn't actually that much, but it is, I guess, like 16 or 1700 points, because the dragon costs so dang much. That's the next game, yeah. So basically, I think this game was, despite what I thought when just sort of glancing the list, as I say, I sort of glaze over at the goblin characters, but whatever. I really underestimated the pressure that those wolf chariots exert, particularly when you've got 6 war machines behind them. So even though the blocks actually weren't that scary to me, I think they were scary to other people, particularly with the poison on the smaller ones, I think. To me, I wasn't too concerned about that. But it was really hard to push into this because of the wolf chariots. And I just got lucky. I panicked them off. whether they should have been off or not, or just shaken or whatever, him failing that panic test meant... I mean, essentially, maybe I would have gotten lucky and they would have done poorly against the dragon anyway, but I think, particularly because they probably could have combo charged with the block, I think that was sort of the biggest thing, and then also this guy surviving for so long over here, cleaning up these war machines, meant that I was taking so much less damage than I otherwise could. So it was a very, very lucky result, in my opinion. And not necessarily a result because of good play so much as it was because of just getting good dice at the right time. So the result there, I think I got the secondary. I think I got... Oh, I definitely got my secondary because I did a Glory Hunter win. And I think I got the primary as well there, which is why I ended up 17-3. It was, I think, a 13-7 on points. And the final game... this internet doesn't look like it's fixing itself. We'll be back again. When in doubt, ISL. Hopefully that'll fix it eventually. The final game I had against Chris, who is another Warriors player. He was running the event. He had a Demonic Wings, Burning Portent guy, an Occultism Adept, an Evocation Adept, a Barb Chief with the Giant Slayer on Shadow Chaser, a big Spike Shield Unmarked block, some Fallen, some Warhounds, some Lance Gluttony Warrior Knights, a big unit of Feldrax, a Battle Shrine, and some Flayers. So, probably the best Magic phase, at least the biggest Magic phase investment of any person that I've faced. This is the first time that I thought it was, like, properly... Like, I mean, Luke didn't have any. James had, like, 2 spells. Wasn't really that relevant. And Matt was sort of like well, you'll always do, like, a little bit, but I'm not that concerned. Whereas this one, there was enough damage there that I was like, this is kind of a scary Magic phase to face off against. I didn't really know how the combat, or like how the game would go, I guess I should say, but I thought his Chosen Lord was in for a bit of trouble because either I turn off his Burning Portent, or I think I just kill him with my Dragon Lord before he even strikes. And obviously Burning Portent can do some wounds with the D3 wounds, but he's got 5 attacks, he probably hits 3 or 4, let's say 4 times, he might do 2 wounds. I wouldn't save any, but then he's probably only doing 4 wounds. I think that he just gets, like, even if he does damage, I think that he just gets killed against my dragon, so he wasn't as scary to me. And even, like, the Feldrax have resistance against his attacks, so he's only strength 5, wounding on 5s against them and rerolling successful. Like, he's pretty limited in the impact he can have. Game. I think we exchanged a few drops in this game. And then I think I went first anyway. I think I went first in all of my games, actually. We were playing... Oh, okay. We were playing some secondary that was... Whatever the primary objective is, where your secondaries are then just worth more points. But it was like we could both achieve both secondaries or something, but then we're the same army and we rolled the same one. So like we were playing Breakthrough, I think, and we were essentially playing Breakthrough for 4 points. Which was weird, but basically we were playing Breakthrough. So I had a disadvantage in the objective, I think, because his scoring units are just better than mine. Like, he's got, 1, 2, 3 of them. But this is a chunkier warrior block than I have. This is a big, like, max-size Feldrack unit. This is 10 warrior knights. Like, they're better than all of mine. More resilient. And the 2 of them are notably faster. Okay, good. My internet is back. Wahoo. Great. Everything's all good. I can't remember how we ended up, like, deploying like this. if he counter deployed me or what happened. But I don't know why. I think I stacked all my scoring on one side, basically to be like, if you want to commit to stop me getting breakthrough, maybe my Feldrax will have some space over the other side to really crash down this flank. So I think sort of what I was planning was a bit of a delayed advance on the right side and really like coming in hard along the left flank with all of my big scary guys. I think is what I was thinking, but I can't remember if that played out during deployment or if that like, I don't know if that was a reaction to where he placed things or what it was, because I can't remember how we did deployment on this one. Yeah, so as you can see, I actually kept back a little bit because of these Feldrax. So I didn't really want to fight them one-on-one with my Feldrax. Pushed up everywhere else. What did I give? I think I probably didn't give him any charges anywhere, to be honest. And then, so this is my turn 2, I suppose. He basically moved these big Feldrax up to, so that I think the only thing that could see them because of the hill there was my dragon. And then obviously if I fight them, there are potential counter charges coming in. And then he's blocked my warriors, and I think he even blocked my chaff. What I basically did was, after my first turn of keeping this Skywheel Wizard where he couldn't come over the top of me, I basically went, well, I'm going to push forward with my Gluttony block, which I care less about. After I kill these dogs, I'm going to have counter charges staring down at them, pretty much, because these guys are going to pivot after. I just moved my Chimera up to where it was vaguely relevant, not really knowing what to do with him. I used my Chosen Lord on disc to chaff his big block in case my dragon stays there for a while. Because I expect my dragon to win this fight. If he sends the Fallen in, I don't really care because it just gives me a Thunderstomp target. And I don't think I care about the Battle Shrine getting into me either. And then I pretty much just went, look, I don't care about these flayers, or the Barb Chief had run off over to here somewhere. I don't care about them. If they want to flank charge my Feldrack, I think I'll be fine. Even if I'm not, I'll be steadfast. So capped at mine. I don't know if I'm solid or steadfast or steady or what are those, but I'll be capped at the -2. So I'm like, leadership 7, rerollable. Even if I do lose, which is far from a guarantee, whatever. Sure, I'll stick in with that. What ends up happening, actually, is my Dragon Lord just kills these Feldrax. Like, breaks them and runs them down, I think, even. His Lord charges the flank of my Entropic Aura guy. I turn off his weapon and stuff, and he whiffs. I took a great weapon, I believe. So I've only got a 4-up armor save, which so he'd be hitting me on 3s, he'd be wounding me on 4s, and then I'd only have a 6-up. I don't know if he did any wounds. Regardless, I stay there. And then this guy moved to chaff these guys. It might be in the next photo. Let's see. Well, I guess this is the aftermath. I killed them. I've overrun. Yeah, this is just the aftermath, basically, of that. And you can see this position for when things come in next turn. This guy was chaffing the Chosen, as I said. What interestingly actually happened over on this left-hand side, well, I mean, basically the Knights beat up my warriors, and then something happens. I think these guys get chaffed or something. Maybe I just lose the fight. Anyway, so we did play something wrong here, but it doesn't actually matter. So Barb Chief and the Flayers went into the flank of my paired weapon Feldrack Elder. So the Barb Chief doesn't get hatred and battle focus or whatever when he's not in the unit, which we didn't really think about. But basically, he rolled a 6, so he's got his. We basically played it as though he still had them. He didn't need the hatred; he just rolled a 6, so he got 2 crush attacks. He rolled max wounds. He did 6 wounds to me. And then, like, I lost the combat. I think I was still alive, but I lost the combat and I broke. And then, because I'm below 25%, I'm auto-dying, basically. So the reason I say that doesn't matter, like, obviously, the getting 2 hits from the crush attack is important there, because otherwise he's pretty limited in what he can do. There was a couple of mistakes that there was a mistake that I made mentally, where I was like, I assume a crush attack is still agility 0. I'm gonna kill the Barb Chief before he strikes anyway, and then everything's fine. First of all, like, it's not agi 0. So he was striking before me. Second of all, I didn't actually kill him. So even if I hadn't made that mistake of not knowing that it was agi 0, or that it wasn't agi 0, I didn't kill him, so he would have still gotten to strike me. And even though, like, yes, he was outside the unit, and we gave him those, like, we made the mistake of giving him those bonuses. If he'd stayed in the unit, I would have done the same thing. I would have still been like, eh. Like, I gave both of them my flank. It did not matter whether he was in the unit or not. I would have done it if they were both in the Flayer unit. Or at the very least, I have no issue with that decision. I might have, if he was still in the Flayer unit, mentally been like, oh, maybe they're more easy to tie down. But it wouldn't have changed the fact that I'm like, I think I'm okay with them charging me in the flank. I'm just hoping he doesn't roll that 6. He rolled the 6, got it. So basically, if he'd stayed in, this would have been the same outcome. So it really doesn't matter that we played it wrong. I don't actually think that it affected the game at all. Even though the guy died, it was basically what would have happened if he just left his Barb Chief in and he didn't get anything from leaving him out. So nothing's actually really affected there. My Entropic Lord actually managed to kill his Lord. I got a bit lucky because I think like we thought about what should be done, and like, I mean, he wins the first round of combat from the flank charge regardless. I hold, like, I think thinking about what should have happened there, it's a bit touch and go, but like, it's a bit unlucky that he didn't win, that he didn't kill me. But I don't know that it's massively impactful anyway. It would obviously be more points for him, but that guy was dead, and what's going to happen now is my Dragon and my Feldrak are going to stare down his block and basically mess it up. Yes, they're just still over there. Okay, no, yes, so we had to move these guys back because he had the spell that gives him horror. So that's why this worked out this way. So I went back and I was like, well, shit, I know what I rolled. I think I rolled a 6 and a 1, so I moved 7. So then I'm like, if I've got double minimized on my flea, I know that I can roll. Where's my screen gone? Okay, it's back. Hopefully that didn't mess up the video at all. So yeah, so I knew that I rolled a 1 and a 6. It was not that long after that we realized, oh wait, no, you had horror, and that affects that. So I just rolled 2 more dice, and like one of them was a 1. So rather than moving the 6, moving the 7, I was only meant to be moving 2, so I just moved them back. Which then meant that I had chaffed my own unit, and these guys, I don't know if they can chaff. I don't know. I can't remember what happened, but these guys basically messed this guy up. The Feldrak messes the Fallen up. The Chimera keeps running, and this guy will just turn around. Yeah, basically, as you can see. Okay, so I could chaff him. I can't really remember how that went then. Because I would have thought between these two, between these guys rallying, I don't know. Hopefully the pictures will illuminate that. So it's surely his turn next. Okay. So because what I did basically, I might have moved these guys afterwards, I think, to sort of be facing in, but I don't think I turned them well enough. So with a long overrun, after he charged these guys who can't flee, he basically got out of my line of sight. So he popped through with those knights, which pretty much wins him the objective, because, spoiler alert, at the end of this game, these Chosen will be 1 turn away from getting there, but that Barb Chief can chaff them, and then I couldn't get in there. I clean up these warriors pretty easily. These flayers just sort of dance around and end up doing nothing to me. That's probably the last picture. Yeah. So pretty much at the end of the game, he's got the flayers and the knights left alive, whereas I've got my chosen, my Feldrak Elder, my dragon, and my greed warrior block. Who just he could just get away basically with these guys. I think if I had like one more turn, I would have been able to catch them, but he managed to get into the corner. He managed to be too far for me on my last turn to be able to charge him, which meant that I had a win on points, I believe. So I think I was up 13-7 on points, but because he got breakthrough, and in this game it counted as 4 points basically, I didn't achieve my objective, he achieved his. He achieved my objective, and I didn't achieve his. So 2 points for each one. He got 4 points. It turned it into an 11-9 loss. Despite the fact that pretty much the whole game, Chris was like, oh, like, man. No, not whinging, but, like, I think a couple of people had come around and asked, like, how's it going? And he's like, oh, it's not going good, it's not going good. And I was sitting there going, I don't know, man, it seems pretty close to me. And in the end, yeah, he managed to get up 11-9 over me. So as you can see, obviously, from the amount of games being shown here, not many people. So, like, I think, to be honest, in this game, like, when I played Luke, we were top of the table. And Chris, I think we were still 1 and 2 going into round 4. So even though I lost, I had a pretty reasonable buffer. And I think maybe Luke would have needed to get like a 19 or a 20 to be above me anyway. So at the end, your boy did it. With 58 points, 4 games, 4-game tournament, managed to get the win. I do think, like, overall, I mean, okay, possibly arrogantly, I do think that in at least my first 2 games I played better. I think probably in my fourth game I probably played a little bit better than Chris. So I don't actually think, even though people were complaining about my list being too strong, despite the fact that I specifically wrote it to be not too strong, I don't think the list was too strong. I do think the dragon is too strong. It takes too much from the opponent to kill it. Like, I mean, I haven't played against cannons, and, like, supposedly cannons are a real equalizer here, where they probably will just wipe it off the board, or I have to hide it. But in a game where your opponent doesn't have, like, the hard counter monster tool available to them, I think particularly with the stacking of trophy rack, I think the dragon is too good. That was the only thing in my list that I felt was, like, too strong. Otherwise, I think across the games, except for my 3rd game, which honestly I just got so lucky. Like, I guess I played well in terms of I recognized what I needed to do to win, and I took those risks, and those risks paid off. But I reckon there's like 15% chance that game goes well. At least based on how we deployed. Knowing if I was playing completely seriously, which I wasn't. I wasn't nickel and diming trying to get every point I could. I was more we're just playing for fun. I think if I was playing as hard, like as well as I could, and I did that matchup again, I can probably manage things a bit better. Knowing now, thinking about, like, oh, those goblin chariots are actually such a problem. I can't just sort of barrel down the board and run him over. But the game that we played, I think there's like 10-15% chance that possibly goes that well. Because obviously, like, maybe the goblins don't, maybe the chariots don't fail their panic, but maybe they roll poor on impact hits, or I roll well on my saves against them. Like, there's a few ways that risk of just pushing my dragon forward can work out, and the luck that I got basically taking out the war machines on the left. But it was a lot of things coming together to basically let me win a game that I don't think I should have won. And, like, end result, basically, even if that was, because it was like a 17-3, I think. Even if that was, rather than that, it was closer to what I think I could have kept it to around about a 10-10 if I was sort of being like, I'm just going to try and score the objective and keep my stuff hidden. Well, that would have been, he'd be on 57 and I'd be on 51. So like that would have been Luke winning the tournament. So I genuinely think that I was lucky enough in that third game, which is the reason why I managed to push through. But I do think, unlike the Dwarves, which felt like sickeningly competent when I played them, I don't think there's anything really ridiculous about this list, despite everybody's complaints. And nobody wanted to face it. Oh, it's too scary. Oh, there's too many monsters. I don't think it is. I think the dragon's strong, and other than that, I think the strength of the dragon is balanced out by how shit that side Skyward Chosen Lord is. Like, no way in any world. Like, it's not that he's overpriced for 450 points. Like, all of the options taken on him independently are probably fine. But the combination that I've chosen that takes a 450 point model with a 3-up armor save is just so dumb. Like, there's no excusing that as being good, basically. But yeah, I guess overall, I was pretty happy with how it played. I was pretty happy with how the single models were still pretty mobile. And sometimes it just feels good to be running around with big, scary monsters on your side. Like, I've been playing a lot of a lot of my dwarves, which is just basically blocks of infantry, which is fun for different reasons. But like, this was a good change up for me, and I really, really enjoyed how the army looked. So like, it was fun to play with. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think 3rd edition in general, again, is fine. There are things that I don't like, but it's all just like different flavors of the same ice cream, you know? Like, I haven't played Old World, but I don't have any interest in doing it. But I think, regardless of the changes of 3rd edition, the games still feel... It's just changing details of, like, what's good. Like, what are the tricks that you can pull, change, and what are the things that are strong. Otherwise, the game's the same. It still feels the same. And I'm still... I feel like the fact that I spent so long playing 2nd edition and, like, really, really invested in that, it's not like I'm now learning a different game. Like, I'm also playing War Machine at the moment, and playing War Machine is learning a different game. There's, like, a couple of overlapping, like, ideas, particularly around, like, managing threat range, and sort of jockeying for objective without putting yourself sort of where you can... I don't know, it's like, I guess safely jockeying for position is like sort of a similar idea that I can apply learnings from Ninth Age to War Machine. But it's completely like, there's so much about it that is so different, obviously, that the fact that I spent a lot of time on 2nd edition, Ninth Age, doesn't really help me in War Machine, whereas this is the same game. I don't really need to know the 3rd edition rules to have a fair bit of competency at playing 3rd edition. Like, I'll make some mistakes, obviously, like the fact that I thought Crush Attacks was still IG0. I still don't really know when things flee and when things just stay where they are but are shaken. And I think I remembered after, like, more closer to the event, I remembered a few things that were like, oh, I think that was actually like a rules mistake we made. But most of it, like, it doesn't really matter. The main thing is if like your macro strategy is good, the detail stuff barely matters. It matters a little bit more for how I play because I'm often a bit more on the edge. Like, I'm not going for only 90% success chances. I'm going for like 65. That's pretty good. You're sort of managing that across the board where you're sort of like, if I take enough of these risks that are in my favor, enough of them will pan out, that I'll be good. And not knowing the details there can affect things, but overall I think it's still just like, I've got a pretty good foundation for how to play a square-based rank and file game, and I don't think that goes away regardless of 2nd edition or 3rd edition. So and the feeling's the same. So I personally, I still like Ninth Age. 3rd edition certainly hasn't harshed the vibe, and even though we got a really small community at the moment, doesn't really bother me. Everyone's really nice. I don't mind playing the same people over and over because everyone's really good to hang out with, really good to have a game with. And pretty much everybody playing, at least in New South Wales at the moment, is like, they're just playing for fun. They're just going, I'm going to take things that I think are cool, and we're going to have a fight. So it's really just, it's actually a really good environment to play 9th Age in. Because, yeah, like, I mean, it's just a game, you know? Everyone is all in agreement that we're just there to play a game and to have some fun. So, I'll definitely be playing more. I don't play that much sort of like at home anymore, and I don't play on the online events these days because I don't really like Warhol very much. And last time I played against, like, I played in one, I think at the end of 2nd edition, and I had one really, really bad game against a dude where he was just like a complete cheat, and I'm not interested in having to deal with that, which is not something I have to deal with in my community at all, and frankly, it's not something that I really have had to deal with much in the online community either. But when I've had dodgy opponents in the online games on UB, I'm canny enough with the system that I could pick it up. Whereas Warhol, I didn't really know what was going on half the time, so you can do sketchy things to me and I don't really see it happening, so I'm not familiar with the system. And I don't like it, so I'm not actually enthused to play Warhol, particularly outside of playing in those events. So, if people were still playing on UB, I'd probably play online. But as it is, I'm pretty happy just playing with my models that I like on the tabletop when people are doing get-togethers. So I think the next one is August for Castle Assault, and I'll rock up with the dragons again, and we'll just have some fun. This has been a long video, but thank you for sticking around, and I hope that you enjoyed it. And don't expect another one anytime soon, but you never know. Alright, see you guys.